All right, let's get started. Any changes to the agenda, Susan?
Nope, there are no changes to the agenda.
Wonderful. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is this on? Can you? There we go. That's better.
I approve the consent. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jeff, please poll the board.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye. On to the regular agenda. Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to speak who is not already on the agenda? Anybody? Seeing none and hearing none, we'll move on to the director's report. Susan.
Good evening, commissioners. So I just have a couple updates for the director's report tonight, and really just wanted to provide some updates on some operational initiatives that we've been working on. The first is the strategic plan. So we wrapped up the fourth and final strategic planning committee meeting last week. And really the next steps for the process is taking all of that input and feedback that we received through the strategic planning committee and really narrowing in on finalizing the updated mission, vision, and then adopting new values for the park district. We're also narrowing in on establishing the larger strategic anchors or strategic priorities for the park district. And again, still working through some of those, and we'll share more as the process continues. But the first really is looking at organizational excellence, and that would include items like governance, master planning, which would include financial planning, HR, long-range facility planning, data analysis systems, and ROI. The second large strategic anchor that has been suggested is places and spaces. And what would fall under places and spaces would be programming, parks, and facilities. And then the third large strategic anchor would be relationships. And we were still developing those fully, but what are those critical relationships that are important for the park district? And then next steps is to form a writing team. And the writing team will consist of staff and Dave Beets and myself. And the goal of that writing team is to fully develop all of the individual goals under those strategic priorities. So we will form that. We need to establish who we want on that writing team, and we're going to try to do that by the end of this week. We are still on track to provide a draft of the strategic plan to the board at the facilities committee meeting in May. And I just wanted to really acknowledge just the great participation and input that we got from our community partners who gave many hours of their time, and really just the thoughtful feedback and input that they provided through the process is just invaluable for us as we move forward, really in trying to focus on the strategic direction for the park district. It's really interesting, I think, to hear all of the different perspectives from our different community partners. And, I think sometimes as staff, we get an idea of, maybe what our focus is and what our priorities should be. And sometimes we get a little bit different input from our partners, which again is only going to help us moving forward.
I'd like to ask a question. How about just a couple examples of things that you wouldn't have thought of or as a priority?
Well, we got
Yeah.
into, and I'd echo what Susan said. First of all, it was a great experience. We had wonderful feedback from the community, lots of broad representation. They were really into it. I mean, this was important to them. And that's how we should be thinking about the parks, as being really important to this community, because it came out like a flower out of the pot. So, it was really refreshing to see that. We got into, discussions about things like growing or connecting, and which one is the right word. And people were ready to like wrestle to the mat over there. I want growing, I want connecting. And so it was things like that. I don't know, I didn't bring the vision statement and the mission statement, Susan. Did you, if you have them or?
I didn't,
Okay,
yeah,
I
I didn't
should-
bring, I
Probably
I
not
wanted to
ready for
save
that
that.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, save that a little bit. but-
Okay.
Save it for the market.
I sat on the outside of a couple of the meetings and yeah, the people who attended were passionate. They were vested, they were interested, they knew what they were doing was important. It was
Yeah.
really cool to see. The other piece I want to comment on is how many staff members
Yep.
chose to participate. They didn't need to, and they added it to their regular schedule. So that was pretty neat too to see. And of
Yeah.
course, they were very interested in, what was going on and getting
The
their,
staff were equally
getting their input
compelling.
in too.
They
Yep.
were equally compelling in terms of their responsibility to make the parks good. So it was great.
Yeah, and many of those, the staff that were on the strategic planning committee will be part of that writing team. Yep. Any other questions on that one? All right. Just another initiative that we've been discussing at the board is a governance model. So we've been discussing the importance of really developing that governance model for the park district. We requested proposals from 3 different consultants who have previous experience doing strategic planning, governance models. We did receive 1 proposal, and I am currently working with that individual to complete the contract, so we're able to get moving on that particular initiative. And together, we'll put together a timeline and a process for how we're going to work through that. We anticipate that the project will align with the strategic planning, and both projects will be wrapping up in June of '24. And again, more information to come soon on that. And then just the last is just the all staff meeting. So, we are still very committed to bringing our entire team together on a quarterly basis. We have our next all staff meeting scheduled for March 21st, and that'll be held at the Fargo Dome. We've got a pretty great agenda put together, a lot of training. We're going to be doing some IT training, HR training. There are some new procedures that we put together on staff development and then also on onboarding. So we're able to provide consistent experiences for our staff. So we'll roll that out next week. And those are the updates I have tonight. If anyone has any questions.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yep. Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the department update. Tonight we have food and beverage, and I believe Mr. Chad Fowle will bring the team up. Welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. I will just give you a quick update on our concession department, food and beverage department for the last 6 months to a year. Let you know what's been going on in our department and our world. Just at a glance here, we throughout the year, seasonally, we have 18 different locations that we service. This last year for 23, we did just over $330,000 in sales. Right now we have our 4 full-time staff, and we're just with our hiring, we're just at about 26 part-time staff with us also going into the sports center. So here's our team. We have Amanda Lamp, Cade Merrigan, Kelty Wetch, and myself, Chad Fowle. So these are our new team, full-time team, and it's a great team to be on. Right now, it's going really good, and you can see that coming up here. I'll go over the hockey here. We just finished the hockey season about a week ago. So we got some year-to-year comparisons, 22 to 23. In 23, we're just up over $20,000, almost $20,200 in sales over last year. And somebody might say, well, you raised some prices on a few things, so that's where it comes in. So we also threw in the units sold there. We're up just over 1,800 units sold, additional units sold over 22. So we're very proud of that.
All right. So I'll start on Santa Village now. For Santa Village, we are compared to last year, we're up $2,964, And for units sold, we're up $1,151 this year. And then next, for the full calendar year, our sales in 2022 were 225,000, and the next year we were up 111,800. So for units sold, we went up a lot. We went up 35,360. And then for Broadway Square, we did 1,357 in sales, and we don't have data from 2022 because of staff changes, but we are down a little bit just because of the really warm weather we've had.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been to Santa Village. What do you concession at Santa Village? Sugar cookies or?
Oh, actually, they do cookies in the house with
I
Mrs.
remember
Claus.
that part.
Yep. But no, we do a lot of hot chocolates. We do toppings on our hot chocolates and stuff. That's a really big seller there. And then we do our regular grab and go stuff, and then some hot foods.
Where do you offer it at?
What's the building called?
In the
That
concession
kind of
stand.
concession
Yeah,
building,
in that
yeah.
concessions
building.
Bathrooms and-
In the bunkhouse.
Yeah,
in
the bunkhouse. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if you opened the window to the outside for Santa's Village, but you did for, I'm going to get it wrong, Fall in Fargo. Is that what we
Yeah.
call it?
Yep.
And I thought that was a really good idea. Great feature to be able to just walk up to the window, not have to go into the building to go to the concession stand. I don't know if you did it in the winter with weather, but
We don't do it in the winter. It's easier in the fall. It's not as cold, obviously. This season, we possibly could have done it during Santa Village just because of the weather. But we usually don't open
Yeah.
it that way just because it's usually cold for that. So they like to come in and warm up anyways. And then they have during the fall in Fargo, they don't really have any activities inside. During Santa Village, they have the crafts and they have the tables set up. So there's people, it welcomes people inside and they
and
can warm up.
Santa.
And yep.
They'll sell tickets to the carriage rides on the outside of that building.
Sure, kind of like you could buy the punch ticket
Yep.
at Fall in Fargo there.
Yep.
And I'm assuming they're selling the Go-Gurt and the applesauce and the string cheese just like they would have in the fall. And
Yeah, a lot of our
nice kid-friendly food.
regular grab and go stuff today or this year, they opted to put in pulled pork nachos and barbecue or pulled pork sandwiches. So that went over really good, other than just the usual hot dogs and pizzas that we do. So that was very well received this year.
On to some numbers just of our top sellers. We have Pop at number 1, just under 15,000 units. Ice cream treats, about 13,000 units. That primarily is going to come from the pools. It's just a huge thing down there. Hot dogs, that's about 12,000 units. And for anybody wondering, it's about 1.5 miles of hot dogs end to end, according to Chad's math. And then their next two most popular are water and our popcorn.
Those pop include Gatorades?
No, it does not.
No. Okay.
Miles of hot dogs.
On to an update on our spring and summer, just looking ahead. We just did our first weekend at JO Volleyball, and that went really well. That will be continuing on through the end of April, and volleyball tends to be our busiest stand. A lot of taco in a bag, hot foods, things like that. Ball fields, we're looking at opening up soon, including North Complex, Mickelson, Anderson, and Davies. And North Complex is being restructured to serve a better service to our patrons. Pools, we will be continuing to operate with the exception of Island Park Pool due to construction. And we are looking at hot food options for Davies this year. And with the Sports Center, it's just been an ongoing and large project for our team. And right now we're narrowing down menus with the help of Cisco and Test Kitchen Studies. I'll pass this off to Kelty to elaborate on that.
So one thing to add, as Amanda talked about the JL volleyball, what they're doing also is now starting to sell concessions during our league nights. So we're going to try a couple weeks and see what that's like. You know, Jeff's got 155 teams in volleyball at the sports arena and the American Gold for overflow. So we're going to try to sell some concessions out of there. It's a very busy site. So it's a nice little benefit to the people that are playing
Would be
volleyball out
the
there.
adult leagues you're talking
Yep,
about?
yep,
Okay,
correct.
interesting.
As Amanda said, we've been doing test kitchens with Cisco. We had not just us, but we had other staff from different departments come with us, and they kind of just gave us a bunch of different options. And then we've kind of decided on a starting menu for opening. We have all our hot foods, and then we'll have breakfast items. Kind of just the regular snacks that we already offer now, we'll kind of keep those in there. And then upstairs will be more for tournaments and stuff, so we have different things that we'll try for there.
Will we be having those brats yet tonight?
Just the people that are staying overnight.
Better be careful with that. People, if someone listens to this, so what did they talk about? It's a sleepover? What?
That's an impressive menu. It's exciting. I think people are gonna come in and they're gonna be pleasantly surprised when they go up to the stand and say, "Oh, there are some choices here, and there are some good, healthy choices here." And I think the more people utilize it, the less they're gonna be wherever, and it's just gonna make their day go better too.
Right.
Well, and we did a couple of those test kitchens. One of them I couldn't make, the other one I did. But it's interesting to see the enthusiasm out of these guys, talking about these different menu items and working with Cisco and their head trainers to develop this menu. It's a big lift, but they've done an excellent job with creating this menu. So there's big things to come. I mentioned in our recreation committee meeting on Friday that, Chad and his team have been meeting, with Paul Grinlin from Valley Senior Services. There could be a site at the Sports Center of Meals on Wheels. It could be a site where the food and beverage department is preparing some of those Meals on Wheels, maybe creating some more efficiencies with the staff that we've got on hand already. So
Currently, is that all Concordia?
that is all Concordia
Also West Fargo.
and West Fargo.
And what West Fargo,
West Fargo has a kitchen that cooks.
West Fargo High School or?
No, West Fargo High Rise has a
Oh,
kitchen
high
that
rise, okay.
does all the West Fargo. Concordia does all of the Fargo.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Idea for after the meeting to talk to you about foods.
We've also come up with a catering menu with different options for that. Party packages and box lunches for the teams that they're able to order from us.
Do we do something like that because we started doing parties at the swimming pools last year, right? Kind of private rentals. Do we do any sort of,
Pools
Food.
is in charge of that. We
what's
don't.
that?
Pools does all of that,
That
so
would
they
be
take
all
care of
them?
that.
Okay.
Yep.
But we
thinking about-
don't do any food packages at the pools.
Yeah, it's best.
Because we're not, we don't do hot food at the pool.
No kitchen. there, yeah.
So this is for, basketball tournaments, soccer tournaments. These teams can order ahead of time. So before they get to the tournament, they can say, we would like lunch at 11 o'clock. This is what we want. And they'll prepay. It'll be all online. They can prepay and order ahead of time. We'll get that order ahead of time. And then we'll have it ready for them at 11 o'clock. And then they can just grab it and go find a corner or someplace in the sports center to eat.
Yeah, I
Just
like this.
Trying to keep people at the sports center and take advantage of our establishment and what we have to offer.
And make
Well,
it
and
easy for them to.
No, yes, nobody wants to run in January to go find food and bring it back and match that window perfectly between games or whatever's going on. So this is a nice plus for parents, families, teams. I like it.
Well, Commissioner Hill, you mentioned the pools, obviously with Island Park Pool, that's a different concession setup. So could it be a possibility? Certainly that we're providing this type of experience for these birthday parties that we'd have there. Same at Davies could be a possibility, but that's some future conversations.
Yeah, I didn't think about, we don't have kitchens there like we do.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
So on the growth year over year, where do you think, why do you think that's happening? 23 over 22? I think I have some theories, but I want to see if they match your theories.
My theory is right here. We have a staff underneath
That's a great answer, Chad.
It's, you know, just to have the full-time staff to be able to do the daily duties that are needed. It was thin before. And I can tell you that from experience because I was there when it was thin, trying to restock the stands, trying to do all the paperwork, trying to research new ideas and stuff is just too much for one person. So, you know, we all have time that we go out in the stands, we do stuff, we do our daily maintenance, but we're able to research and find those things and spend time doing that. They keep a really good in stock of inventory in the stands. We're not running out of things. Things are stocked, the out dates are checked. And just having that daily maintenance is making sure that when we're, say, on a weekend where it's a tournament, things are stocked, we can sell stuff. If you have it there, you can sell it. If it's not there, you can't sell it. And that's what we've ran into in the past. And that's just the main thing is these three standing right here. They're the machine behind it. And they've done a great job this last year. And that's what we get for that, is those numbers.
That was my, staff.
And I would echo that. And you figure from the North Softball Complex now to down on 64th Avenue South, that's a jaunt. And now 19 with the complex or the sports center. So you figure 18 of those sites from the north to the south that they're checking daily, especially in the summer, obviously with the ball fields and sites that they've got operating. It takes a big lift to get that done.
Well, and I said this on Friday at the admin meeting, but where was it, recreation?
Correct.
That Commissioner Dawson, after she got elected, she came in and kind of challenged us to, let's up our game with the concessions. And I think that's part of where we're at today is through her saying, hey, we can do better. And it's great. That menu looks great. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Mm-hmm.
No more hot dogs.
Well, you still
Well, wait, I got the hot dog. It's a brat with burnt ends on it.
There'll be some growing pains. You'll learn, you know, it's like there's going to be things that you're like, oh, that's not selling like we thought, or that's selling better than we thought. And you're going to be out of stock for a while, but you'll figure it out and you'll get there.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Next year's goal is 2 miles of hot dogs.
Do we put that in the strategic plan? Is
Yeah,
that where that goes?
exactly.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Any other
Thank
questions? No? All right. Thank you very much. Okay. On to board to consider the approval of the purchase agreement for the sale of the RDJ Recreation Center to Cass County. Brock leads presenting.
All right, good evening and thank you, commissioners. We bring to you this evening, as Commissioner Hill had stated, the consideration for approval, the purchase agreement of the Robert D. Johnson Recreational Center to Cass County. As point of kind of looking back at how we got here today, this process started in early 2023 as conversations with the county began in regards to what we were going to do with that building. And as you recall, November of 2023, you passed a resolution that approved the sale to the county. Thank you to Commissioner Morgan for her work in keeping those conversations alive and kind of bringing them back to the table to have additional conversations. And I think it got us to this point that we are today. At the Cass County Commission meeting on February 5th, the Cass County Commission unanimously approved the sale. And I'll give you the summary points of that. But before we get into that summary, you are reviewing today the exact purchase agreement that we presented to you at the January facilities meeting. It is the one that the county acted on, and we understand that there are some dates in there that in consultation with our legal counsel, we understand that it was a timing issue of us moving our approval. And so although it calls for closing February 28th or an agreed upon date, we didn't feel we should change the purchase agreement at this point because they had acted on it in February 5th. So although those dates look different to you probably, in working with Jeff and Jeff working with their legal counsel, there's an understanding of why it is that way. So in summary, the county has agreed and approved to purchase RDJ for $825,000. The closing date, as I said, will now be at a mutually agreed upon date. And I know Jeff is consulting with their attorney to get a date set for that. any fees and costs associated with that, that we are responsible for anything that occurred for updating the abstract, which we had done and passed along to our legal counsel, and the buyer is responsible for any expenses that incurred on their part for closing, and each party is responsible for their own attorney fees. Real estate taxes, as the owner of the facility, we would pay anything that was on there for 2023, and the buyer will assume all taxes or specials that would be moving forward into 2024. The possession of the building, the possession will transfer ownership at closing. However, the Park District will continue to have the opportunity to operate business as usual in that facility up until June 30th of 2024. And we really picked a clean close of 6 months into the year, knowing that there's some programmatic things that Kevin and his team are working through. We want to make sure that we are fully prepared to move out to our new site and just give us time to make sure all of those things can happen. So it is possible that we could be out of that facility before June 30th, but we thought certainly by June 30th, we would have an opportunity to do any of those runouts and make sure that we get moved in a timely manner. As I said, we do understand that the purchase agreement says that this was entered into in February, and here we are in March, but certainly the county did approve it in February. And then the signatures on the back reference January of 24. And as Jeff and the attorney for the county finalize all the appropriate paperwork, we will make sure that this gets dealt with appropriately. The final thing I'll bring to your attention, and Jeff can speak to, is as we were preparing all the documents, there's a lot of legal documents to get prepared, and we do a title search. There was a discovery of a lien that the city of Fargo had on the building, and it was to do with the installation of an elevator for the building and for us to serve a population for a period of 10 years. And Jeff communicated with the city and understood that 10 years would have expired in 2007, but we just had no reason to move forward and change that lien. And so as he put that out to the city, he discovered today that they have a resolution they will probably take to their next, I assume their next council meeting, and get approval of releasing the lien. And so it will have a clean title, and it's just a logistical piece that needs to be cleaned up. And Jeff's done a great job of making sure to communicate with all the appropriate parties in that regard. With that, I will certainly stand for any questions that you may have, but we would ask for your approval to proceed the final step in selling the RDJ to Cass County.
How is it going with the other tenants in the building?
So I have not communicated with those tenants. I don't know if either Kevin or Carolyn have, but certainly as we communicated with the county, we understood that it was the responsibility of the county to work with those tenants. The county received all of those agreements, and the county has assured us, and they discussed it at their meeting on the 5th, that it is not their intention to relocate those individuals. If they want to work with the county and have an opportunity to stay, they have the ability to do so. They're certainly working with those tenants. But as transfer of ownership would happen, also would transfer those agreements, and the county is working through that.
Okay. I don't think there are many, are there, that are left?
I think there's 3 left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Arts
Yeah.
Partnership moved out. I know. I was asked to help move boxes.
Yeah, and we did, early on, we communicated with all of the renters in the building just to provide information, provide updates, and then provide direction.
Who are the 3 remaining?
I'd have to go back and check.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We can provide that information. Yeah, I don't have that information handy either.
The due diligence is essentially done, right? It's just closing date. And once we do have a closing date, do we need an amendment? Is that what we would do, or does it really?
We'll
I mean,
just
at that point-
need, Joe's signature on the deed. I think right now we're scheduled for March 27th or 28th. to
Okay.
get it done.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think we wouldn't have to take any action as a board, right? Okay.
No, this would be approving it.
This is the final
Yeah.
action for us. Okay.
Is the lien anything to be worried about at all? Is it?
No, so back in, I think, 97, the city through a grant program granted the Park District $100,000 to construct an elevator in the building. And as part of that, there was a 10-year period that we had to use the gym area for disabled events of some kind. And so, but there was no clear term. Like, for a title attorney that was reviewing the abstract, there's no clear end date on it. And so they just recommended, hey, get clearance from the city. Just heard word this afternoon, the city is doing one last final due diligence thing, but they already prepared the release of lien.
Okay.
So.
I can't imagine they would.
Did you find that lien as a result of Steve Martin's letter? Or was that something that came up through the Historical Society?
No, so the work we're doing through the Historical Society is as it pertains to this facility. RDJ, it really was with the work that legal is doing to prepare the title and all those things for updates. So
Whatever our
two separate
title
pieces.
company is, I'm sure discovered it in there.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay,
Your phase.
were you asking for a motion? Did you?
Not
No?
yet, but sure, yeah.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to?
To make a motion, I move to approve the purchase agreement for the sale of the Robert D. Johnson Recreation Center to Cass County as presented.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to, it's interesting, there's no direct line from point A to point B. We took a rather wavy route to get here, but I want to thank Commissioner Morgan for her help in getting us to the end. That last little push there, I think, was good, and so thank you, and I'm glad we finally got to a place where we're here today.
Here.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, Jeff, please poll the board.
No, go ahead.
Commissioner Rosted,
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan,
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye. All right, motion carries.
Before we adjourn, kind of maybe this goes back to directors. Are the golf guys getting itchy after yesterday and today? I drove in from Bismarck today and I saw a tractor with a seeder and I'm like, this is March 12th. So this would be a good headline for our reporter. Golf course is open
I
tomorrow or
asked if the
whatever.
tennis nets were going up, so we're all wondering.
So
But
we
I
did,
figure any of those things we do, it's gonna snow.
we did meet, the golf team met this morning. We have had people calling in, asking mainly about maybe the few driving ranges that we have. And I don't know, Carolyn, if you want to jump in, but, right now the ground is still frozen. And, it would be a challenge for us on the driving ranges to be able to pick any of the balls. So we're going to wait, and especially with the weather forecast turning cold and potentially snow. I think if the weather forecast was a little more promising and we thought the weather was going to continue to be warmer, there may be a different decision. But just based on conditions, right now we're in a holding pattern until we get some warmer, better weather.
There was a course in Sauk Center that opened up a week and a half ago, and I went and played. And you needed like a hammer to hit your tee into the tee box. I've never done that before. And there was ice in some of the cups, so there was no flags. It was interesting, but not probably the experience you're looking for in a golf
Well,
course.
there was either a men's or boys track team out for a run when I drove in, and they all had their shirts off, just shorts. And I'm like, March 12th.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Kevin, how do you manage staff in relation to weather? It seems like this is an extreme year, but certainly we've always had to make some accommodations, and there are median, I would have expectations, but when it veers one way or the other, how do you manage that?
We lost some staff because of facilities, they just needed to find other jobs. But we've had some staff trainings, specific up like that. You talk about Edgewood and the chalet up there. We've done some cleanings up there, but realistically, we probably met 4 times total over the winter to try to keep them engaged, especially early on. But eventually just kind of, they go their separate ways looking for other jobs. So I know Dean with his staff and facilities with the 6 outdoor rinks and Broadway Square that we manage. Broadway Square was obviously operational a little bit more than the rinks outside, but I think it was a total of 2 weeks that we had actual ice. But he ended up losing people towards the end.
Yeah, I think it was 17 days.
Yeah,
So is that because it's an hourly wage?
yes,
And so if they're losing hours, they kind of can see what's happening.
correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
So you want an update for who is at the RDJ. Currently, the FM Gay Men's Chorus, Visual Artist Activity Center still got stuff downstairs. Kid Corps and Federation of Families and Mental Health that are in that building still,
Plus our people.
plus our people, yes.
Don't forget those people.
Never.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Move to adjourn.
Move second.
Meeting adjourned.